Blog Talk Radio.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
We, the people, tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. Our Constitution is a document in which we, the people, tell the government what it is allowed to do. The man is not free unless government is limited. An informed patriotism is what we want. But still watch closely. And don't be afraid to see what you see.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
When in hell are all you people going to wake up?
Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report.
Well, hello, America. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Monday, March 31st edition of Moretti Underground, coming to you live from PRN Radio Network, the exclusive home of the Watchmen of America program. Here's my shout-out to Watchmen. Hey, guys. I'm Joanne Moretti, and my great co-host JoJo Norton will be here shortly to join us, and we thank you for tuning in. Our call-in number, as always, is 714-888-7404. And our chat rooms, both at Blog Talk Radio and right here at Patriot Resistance Radio Network, or PRN, are open for you. Our hard-working and awesome colleagues, Lynn, AstroTurf, and Famous Ann, are in the chat rooms, as well as several of our other research teammates. And if we're other links to our sources and documents and other important links into the chats as a courtesy. Thank you, team. Please say hi to them when you get over there. They're amazing researchers. What a great team we have. We have a boatload of news and analysis to get to today, and we have a couple discussions lined up, too. You can call in and join the conversation if you like. We open the phone lines in a little while to callers. Before we begin the show, though, we have to do our disclaimer, and that's just to let the feds or anyone else know that anything said on this show is my responsibility and not that of our wonderful sponsors, PRN or the Watchmen. It goes like this. The comments made by hosts and or guest hosts or phone callers of the PRN Radio Network do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints, ideology, beliefs, or anything else of the members of the Watchmen of America program or the Patriot Resistance website, either in past, present, or even future broadcasts. Anyhow, so that now that disclaimer is out of the way, JoJo will be here shortly, and she may even have a surprise call-in from Rob Maness. You all know him. He's going up against Mary Landrieu down there in Louisiana, and he's a friend of JoJo's, too, so she should be here any minute. Before JoJo gets here, though, I want to do a couple of stories. I got one hero story that I wanted to start with. There's a couple of young girls out there in Georgia who are absolute heroes, little girls, too, 10 years old. Check this story out. 2 girls are being called heroes after helping to rescue 3 young children from a burning building in Decatur. Marie and Ellis's family lost almost everything after their neighbor's apartment on North Decatur Road below them caught fire. But she and her husband, Harold, did not lose what's most precious to them, their children. With fire raging all around in her apartment, Marie said she made the decision to drop her newborn baby, Diana, to Zena Gresham, who was on the ground below outside. The mother says she first put her faith in God and then her trust in the arms of the 10-year-old girl 20 feet below her. I was kind of scared, but then I felt kind of happy, Zena Gresham said on Thursday. Marie also tossed out 3-year-old Pierre Richard and his 1-year-old brother, Sebastian. Sebastian remains in the hospital with a neck injury. Marie said there was another little girl down below who helped catch her 2 sons. She doesn't know that child's name, but would like to thank her as well. 14 people were displaced by the fire. The Red Cross is assisting those families. But I got to say, Zena Gresham, you absolutely are a hero, honey. Good job. Oh, I see JoJo's here. Let me open up her microphone. Hey, JoJo.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, what's cooking? How was your weekend?
Well, speaking of cooking, supper didn't get done before showtime, so I may have to mute a minute and go get my stuff off the grill. That's why I'm running late.
Oh, that's okay. What are you cooking? What's on the grill? Oh, all right. That's cool. Steak is always good.
Hamburger. I caught it on sale. I got a T-bone burger, so I got the T-bone.
Ah, nice. Nice. I never find anything on sale lately. Everything's so expensive.
Oh, I'm a shopping maniac. Or a sale maniac, anyway.
Yeah, me too, but I can't find a sale to save myself. My kids are good at that, though. My daughters, man, they are extreme couponers and stuff. They do a great job. Hey, got a couple of stories out. Well, first, before we get into it, your friend Rob Maness, who's running for Senate down there in Louisiana, may or may not call in, depending on what he's got for time. But what did he say when you talked to him?
I just sent him a message. He said he would try to call in, so I thought we'd just save the story, see if he can call in, and we'll talk about it then. If not, I'll tell it at the end of the show or something.
Yeah, well, if he texts you back, tell him, if he wants to call in, we'll just stop in the middle of a broadcast. I won't make him wait on the line. I know that he's really busy these days, so...
Well, yeah, he's got a pretty full schedule right now. He's usually having a speech just about every night of the week now. So hopefully, it's just a great find for him. We have a liberal, Mary Landrieu, who currently holds the office and has for many years, and we have a rhino. And the guy's probably a nice guy, but I've looked at his record, and then we have Rob Maness, who's a constitutional conservative, all running for the Senate.
He's also a lieutenant colonel, ladies and gentlemen.
Huh? Yes.
I said he's also a lieutenant colonel.
Yeah. Anyway, he found out that Mr. Cassidy, Dr. Cassidy, who happens to be a doctor, has put forth some information that sounds just like what Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi said, that people are just dumb. So, the word dumb now is their new word for, racist. They wore the word racist out, so now they're all pitching the dumb word. But anyway, we'll wait and see if he calls in, and then we can talk about that before the link.
All right. Well, hopefully he will. Let's do some news here.
All right.
Mets fans, today's opening day for baseball, and de Blasio over there in New York threw out the first pitch. He got booed.
Did he throw like a girl?
Oh, yes, he did. And as a matter of fact, this is from Weasel Zip. It says, as you can see from the picture, de Blasio gives Obama a run for his money for the title of most effeminate first pitch by a male politician. Anyhow, the New York Post said, Mets fans greeted Mayor de Blasio with a hearty Bronx cheer on Monday as he delivered the amazing ceremony first pitch on opening day. Donning a pinstripe home white jersey and blue Mets cap over dress pants, de Blasio was loudly booed twice by Flushing faithful, once as he was announced and then again as he left the Citi Field diamond. The wave of boos didn't get to de Blasio, who kept his cool, kicked, and delivered from just in front of the pitcher's mound. De Blasio, wearing a number 6 Mets jersey with his name on the back, tossed a strike to Mets catcher Travis d'Arnaud and flashed a relieved grin that he delivered a corner painting opening day pitch. He wore number 6 in honor of...
So he actually got it over the plate?
Yeah, he got it over the plate, but he didn't... Yeah, but he didn't pitch it from the... He pitched it from halfway. He wasn't even standing on the mound.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
he
in front of the pitcher's mound.
He didn't.
Type,
had 40 feet instead of 90 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Anyhow, he was wearing number 6 in honor of the late 1960s Boston Red Sox great Rico Petrocelli. So that's why he was wearing number 6. I got another story from New York.
Wait.
Go ahead.
He wore a Boston Red Sox jersey, and he threw the opener for the Mets?
Well,
or the Yankees?
For the Mets. For the Mets, and he was wearing the pinstripe and the blue hat of the Mets team. But he had number 6, which was Rico Petrocelli from the Red Sox's number.
Well, that doesn't make much sense.
That's all right. He got booed. I like those Bronx cheers. Obviously the people in New York are smart, at least in Flushing. I got another New York story here, and we have talked about this. This is about the Hurricane Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
0, none, no homes have been fully rebuilt under the New York City Sandy program. This is from the Associated Press. A year and a half after Superstorm Sandy decimated New York City's coastline, a city-run program that was supposed to rebuild wrecked homes has only begun construction on 3 houses, and officials say they will need another $1 billion from the federal government in order to help every homeowner in need. So 3 homeowners got all the money that they put out? That's baloney. Anyhow, homeowners who lost everything in the storm are furious with the lack of progress made by the Build It Back program, which was created by former Mayor Michael Bloomberg to primarily help New Yorkers repair, rebuild, and elevate homes through some funding, and it was also designated to aid renters and owners of multifamily properties. The city's already been granted $1.45 billion in federal funding for the program, and about 20,000 people have applied for rebuilding and repair assistance. As of last week, checks had been mailed to just 3 homeowners, totaling $100,000. What are 3 homeowners going to do with $100,000? And where's the rest of the almost $2 billion? You know what's going on here, JoJo? And we talked about this.
Yeah, I know. No, you don't have to tell me. Look at Katrina. That's exactly what's going on. Except it's probably worse than Katrina, because Katrina was the first disaster. They had to figure out how to throw away a bunch of money. Well, it's not thrown away, but I mean, Katrina was in 2005. They're still rebuilding.
Yeah,
the only people in Katrina that got rebuilt within 18 months or 2 years is people who spent their own money.
Right.
That I know of.
Well,
that I personally
right now,
know of.
They have 3 homes being worked on. They've put out $100,000 for all 3 of them. That's a total of $100,000. You're not going to build a home in New York on the ocean front, and that's my point right there. They are trying to
lay the
wake
plumbing.
people out.
You couldn't put the plumbing down for that unless I did it. Now I could do it for that.
Well, my point is that they have no intention on rebuilding those homes or allowing the homeowners to hold on to that property. What they're going to do is they're going to run out the clock, and then they're going to say, oh, well, those are a blight, so we're going to have to take it over by eminent domain. And they're going to sell that prime real estate to developers. That's right on the ocean front in New York City. Are you kidding me? They're not going to let those middle-class families go back there. They're screwing those families. You watch.
The same thing happened in the Ninth Ward in New Orleans, but the Ninth Ward wasn't prime property. But from the get-go in Katrina, they did not want to rebuild the Ninth Ward. And to this day, I don't think they rebuilt it.
Yeah. And now they'll declare it a blight, and they'll bulldoze it, take it by eminent domain, and then they'll sell it to a big developer like, I don't know, Donald Trump or someone, to build huge condos, oceanfront property, casinos, hotels, and everything else on that property. That real estate is worth a fortune. They're doing the same thing in Jersey, too. But $1.45 billion, and they've given out $100,000. Where's the money? See?
Some contractor's pocket.
Probably.
I don't know.
Or, they're goofing it around or using it and rolling it over, and you know how they work.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like I said, some rich developer. Speaking of rich people, a judge sentenced a DuPont heir to probation for raping his 3-year-old daughter. Plus, he molested his 1-year-old son, too. But they gave him probation because the judge thought that it would be inappropriate to send him to jail because he's a DuPont heir. Well, even rich people commit crimes. So what happens with these babies? His 3-year-old daughter that was raped and his 1-year-old little boy that was molested. But they're going to give him probation. Where's he going to serve probation? With his family? Yeah. Listen to this. This is from the Delaware News Journal. A Superior Court judge who sentenced a wealthy DuPont heir to probation for raping his 3-year-old daughter noted in her order that he will not fare well in prison and needed treatment instead of time behind bars. Treatment? What about the baby?
Yeah, he needs treatment. It's called castration, or something worse than that.
Yeah, well, he can get treatment in jail.
So what about these kids? What about the kids? What about the kids?
That's right.
I've worked with kids that have been abused. Their lives are ruined. You know, they don't get over this.
Yeah, well, somebody got to this judge because it says the fact that Jordan, that's her name, Jurden, expressed concern that prison wasn't right for Richards came as a surprise to defense lawyers and prosecutors who considered her a tough sentencing judge. Several noted that prison officials can put inmates in protective custody if they're worried about their safety, noting that child abusers are sometimes targeted by other inmates. Yeah, they are. As you know, that's a whole system that they got in the jail, and it's a squatting order in the prisons. But still, the fact that Jordan expressed concern the prison wasn't right for Richards, and it surprised defense attorneys and prosecutors, so obviously somebody paid her off. That judge needs a good close look.
Well, I guess he didn't have a jury of his peers, did he?
No, just the judge. The jury would have hung him. So he decided to take his chances with a judge. I don't think it was much of a chance at all. Probably a whole bunch of money in her campaign coffers now. Justina Pelletier. Last Tuesday, a judge in Massachusetts gave permanent custody to the Department of Children and Families up in Massachusetts. The family is completely distraught about this, the Pelletier family. As a matter of fact, Mr. Pelletier and one of the daughters was on Huckabee this weekend. Now, prominent attorney Alan Dershowitz says that he wants to help out the parents of Justina Pelletier. This little girl has mitochondrial disease, according to Tufts University. When the kid went to Boston Children's Hospital, and they gave her a different diagnosis of somatoform, which is a psychological illness, they decided to take that kid away from its parents because they didn't want to continue treating her. So they went to court, and DCF took custody of her. Then we find out that Boston Children's Services is having a research study on somatoform. So they took this 15-year-old girl away from her parents. They put her in a locked psychiatric ward. No phone, no company, no friends. They wouldn't even let the priest visit this kid. This kid is being held in confinement. She's 15 years old. She was out ice skating with her friends a couple of days before she went to the hospital with the flu.
Let me interject here because I don't know about Massachusetts law, but I do know Louisiana mental health law very, very well. They cannot keep the clergy from visiting her in Louisiana.
Well,
the mental health code in Louisiana.
They did. They also, somatoform research is an outpatient research. They got this kid in a locked ward. The parents have never been accused of mistreating that child. They have never been accused of being bad parents. The Department of Children and Families in Massachusetts has never made a home visit to these people's house, never talked to her schoolmates, friends, classmates, family, or anyone else. She has 2 older sisters, and they wouldn't even give the sisters custody. None of these people have ever been found to be bad people. But they want this kid for their research. They kidnapped this kid.
I used to work in a hospital that did research, a psychiatric hospital that did research.
Mm-hmm.
And this may not have nothing to do with what's going on here. I'm just going to tell you. There was a certain unit that was a lockdown unit. The research patients were put on that lockdown unit so they could be watched more carefully because some of them were given placebos and some of them were given the new drugs that they were testing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
this kid.
There's a possibility. Yeah.
This kid is deteriorating. I mean, this kid is like 2/3 dead. This kid has red marks. She has a gastric tube in her stomach, and her stomach is so swollen and red and has red lines on it. One of the family noticed it. If this kid's in a hospital, how come the hospital staff didn't notice that this kid is got an infection? They're going to kill this kid.
Ooh. Yeah, they are.
And then she's 15 years old. How can you isolate her from her friends? What 15-year-old girl doesn't have a phone and a computer and an iPad and all her friends around and going here, there, and everywhere and having her friends over? This kid is, I see AstroTurf in the chat room said she's a lab rat. Exactly. They're using the kid for a lab rat.
When you're in a psychiatric hospital, all those things are taken away from you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very controlled environment.
Yeah. Well, this kid didn't do anything to deserve this solitary confinement or the torture or the not having any medical care or not seeing her family. They almost didn't even let the family visit her over the weekend. They only get an hour. They wanted to do it by Skype now. So they can't even have any contact with the kid, physical contact. What 15-year-old girl doesn't need her mom and dad?
Huh.
Especially mom and dad who are not bad people.
In Massachusetts, in Louisiana, you can be emancipated at 17. I wonder, well, I don't think anybody can be emancipated at 15, but maybe that'd be a legal maneuver to get her emancipated where she can make her own decisions and she can bust on out of there.
Yeah. Well, now prominent attorney Alan Dershowitz is offering to help the parents. And he says that when it comes down to a conflict between doctors in Massachusetts, it's supposed to be left up to the parents to decide which doctor to go with, not the state. And also to put a gag order on this family, you can't stop anyone from redressing grievances. So Dershowitz said that's unconstitutional. How about he take it to court on the constitutionality of it? But meanwhile, this little girl is deteriorating. She's dying. She's not with her family. She's being held in captivity, and that's enough. I mean, and this is a two-pronged thing. This is the full power of the state getting in between parents and child. So this is a test case. And, of course, it's in Massachusetts. Deval Patrick is the governor up there, and he's Obama's mini-me. So he's running from it. He's trying to duck this every way he can. He just wants it to go away, but he's not doing anything about it. He could step in, appoint a guardian ad litem for that kid, and get her out of there. The judge did say she could go back to Tufts, but so far, Children's Hospital hasn't made one appointment for that kid to go back to Tufts. So she's being denied medical care. She's being held in captivity in near solitary confinement. No access to the outside world. Can't even see her priest.
Now, I believe that the priest part's definitely against the law. Now, I just know Louisiana law. But the Boston Globe or somebody put out an article about how there was many, many cases like this regarding this hospital.
Mm-hmm. They're not even giving her they're not even giving her the vitamin cocktail that was ordered for her.
Well, golly, where's the people in Massachusetts? Did I say it wrong?
Yeah, Massachusetts. Well, I'll tell you what. It's about time we all got to start flipping out about this because it's not just that kid. It's your kid, too. If the state is successful taking that kid away from its parents, every kid in this country can be taken away from its parents. Those parents were never even accused of being abusive. When you take a kid away, it's supposed to be for abuse and neglect. Those parents sought medical treatment, brought her to two of the most wonderful, greatest hospitals in the world. I mean, obviously, they weren't like home treating her or denying her treatment. She was in school. She's educated. She's intelligent. She hasn't had any school either. They haven't even given her a tutor. So what's her future going to be like? They're expecting this kid to die, and they're going to make good use of this little lab rat until she does. I don't know. It's despicable.
That's not even strong enough word. It's just mind blowing. Totally, man. Now, where's the people in Boston? Why aren't the people in the streets with signs, free or do something? Why aren't they raising hell? Do they even know about it? No. And, of course they know about it. But, people are too busy on their computers. They won't get off their rear end or their keyboard to get out in the streets. But it's time, man. We are in deep weeds. AstroTurf says if they thought it was Munchausen syndrome by proxy, then the girl should be doing better since being away from her parents. But she's deteriorating instead.
Right. So obviously
exactly right.
it's not in anybody's head. It's a physical ailment. And they say mitochondrial disease is not a real disease. Well, the oldest sister has it too.
Right. It's genetic. It appears to be genetic since two siblings have the same disease. So that's it's obviously genetic.
Yeah.
That's
well,
just
they don't.
like sickle cell disease. It's
right.
prominent in black people. You can have 4 children. Only one of the 4 will have sickle cell. It's passed down in quarters, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought out there, full info.
Yeah. Let's talk about this Malaysian plane for a second. All right.
Then.
24 days have passed, and Malaysia Airline Flight 370 vanished shortly after takeoff, and tweets about the missing plane have hit an all-time low now. People are starting to lose focus of it. Well, there's some stories going around. There was a man on board this plane. His name is Phil Wood. He was an IBM executive from Texas. Allegedly, now I don't know how true this is, but, it sounds plausible. He stashed a cell phone in the back of his pants and was able to get a selfie out. Now, the picture is a dark picture. He says it was taken, his head is covered. But he was able to get the picture out. Now, he's an IBM executive, so he knows if anybody received that picture and ran it backwards, they would be able to locate where it was sent from and the location where that signal came from. Well, this guy, Jim Stone, he says that it came from Diego Garcia. Now, we talked about Diego Garcia last week. It's a little island, and there's an American base on there. I'm thinking that this plane is not missing at all. We are absolutely in possession of it. Now, remember, General McInerney said it was in Pakistan, which I believe. I still believe that. And our own sources confirm that. So how did it get to Pakistan? Let's think about this for a second. If these stories are correct, that plane left Malaysia. It went north, and then it went west, and then it went south. Well, southwest would take you to Diego Garcia. They said it had 7 hours of flight fuel available to it. Well, if they went to Diego Garcia, I am willing to believe that they unloaded these very important passengers. Remember, we talked about the 20 employees from Freescale. 4 of those employees were holders of a pending patent, P-A-T-E-N-T, for a cloaking device that was with radar and ballistics and all kinds of stuff. Now, think about it. These people were on their way from Malaysia to China. Do you think there's any way in hell the United States government is going to let that patent, those people, and that prototype get to China? Absolutely not. I think the ball started rolling when those Freescale executives bought their tickets on that plane. Once that was known, other things went into motion. I'm not even sure if that pilot wasn't maybe a CIA operative himself. That was some pretty fancy flying. And there's no way that he could have shut off all the GPS on that plane. He might have shut off the transponders. But there's transponders in the tail, there's transponders in the cargo area, and there's 7 transponders on that plane. He only has access to 3 of them. So 4 of them still would have told you where they were. Now, remember when we looked at the radar, we saw the plane that hurried up and went off to the right. The updated radar had another plane just almost underneath Flight 370. So I'm thinking when the plane, took off and changed its course, the pilot changed the course, supposedly. They were escorted. We had planes scrambled. Like I said, the pilot might have even been CIA operative, too. They said that he wasn't even scheduled to be on that plane, but it was a last-minute change of pilots. Who else was on that plane? Okay, you got 7.
Yeah, but, let's not forget how much the pilots studied how to fly that plane.
Right.
Over and above the line of duty.
That's right. He had a home simulator. Now, the FBI came out and said that his simulator did have simulated landings in Diego Garcia. Now, you know that we got a CIA operation over there. We have I forget what they call it, like an outpost over there, as well as a military base. So I'm figuring we have this plane. Now, what are you going to do with the plane after you unload all those passengers? And this guy says this guy, Jim Stone, says that the Phil Wood, who sent out the pic, he says he's claimed to be blindfolded when he sent the message. When the American military blindfolds someone, it's accompanied by its custom to put a bag over the head that's locked so you can't get it off. This left the engineer's hands free. This would have made it possible for him to pull his iPhone 5, a fact confirmed by the EXIF data, out of his butt, as stated, and use the voice command ability of the iPhone to just talk to it, log in, and post the message. This explains why he sent a black photo. He could not see what he was sending. He just knew he snapped a photo and sent whatever got taken. The coordinates. When the coordinates are added to the fact that the photo EXIF data does not match the Google coordinates or other coordinates for Diego Garcia that are posted online, but still within the boundaries of Diego Garcia, it proves that no one just pulled those coordinates off the web. It helps confirm that this was not just a hoax because the coordinates are exact to wherever on Diego Garcia the iPhone was when it took the photo. So he's not actually, what they're saying is it's on the outskirts of this little island, not exactly on the base. So who knows? They might have a CIA annex over there.
But this other guy that did the coordinates said that he thought the guy was in a building.
He could be in a building, but it's on the outskirts of the base.
But the other guy's coordinates came down to a building, and then he says he's in a building, and he explained how you could go X, Y, and Z, and you could go to Google something or another and find the building.
All right, it says the picture posted. Yeah, you're right. It says the picture posted with the following tweet: I've been held hostage by unknown military personnel after my flight was hijacked, blindfolded. I worked for IBM, managed to hide cell phone in my ass during the hijack. I've been separated from the rest of passengers in a cell. My name is Philip Wood. I think I've been drugged as well and cannot think clearly. So now this guy, Jim, puts in a comment. He said the EXIF is intact. EXIF data gets embedded in every image by every camera and includes the circumstances under which the photo was taken. It can be viewed by saving the image to your desktop and then right-clicking it and selecting image properties. Hit the Details tab. You can see that the image was taken on March 18th with an iPhone 5 with the ISO at 3200 and a shutter of 1/15. The coordinates are included on the EXIF data because the iPhone knows where it is, and the coordinates are for Diego Garcia. So if that's not legit, then somebody in Diego Garcia is claiming somebody's using that phone.
Yeah. Or somebody just made up the whole scenario. It's getting
or
to the
somebody
point
made it all up.
We don't know. We don't even know anything.
Let's go back to the
MSM lies so much.
Yeah, well, I've seen so many lies, too. I don't know what to believe. But, if the plane's in Pakistan, that would make sense. They were not going to let China get their hands on that patent, the prototype, or the blueprints, or those guys. That's, why would they? That patent didn't even get approved until 4 days after the plane went missing. Now, if these passengers are still alive, they were dropped off in Diego Garcia, and then the plane...
They refueled.
Right, refueled, and now they got to ditch the plane. So they're going to send it up to Pakistan. Now, everybody says it would be picked up on radar. Of course, maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't, depending on how it's flown and what type of devices they're using. But even if it was picked up on radar, do you think Pakistan's going to refuse to let that plane come in if the United States is asking to put it in there? Something doesn't sound right. And then the Malaysia guy says that they're not giving out all the information because it's classified and it's an investigation. So somebody knows something. And they're searching around like Where's Waldo all over the world. That you're never going to find the wreckage. They're not even looking in the right places. Last week when we talked about it, they said that it wasn't even actually seen on satellite. It was an educated guess by triangulating and looking at this and looking at that. And then tonight, just before we come on the air, they said, well, that debris that they found that they thought was going to be parts of the plane was fishing equipment. You're telling me you could see a fishing rod from space, but you can't find a plane?
Yeah, that's just bull.
Right.
There's been every excuse known to man. And then the Malaysian government has got some information that they say that's top secret and they can't release any public information.
Right.
It's all just a bunch of tooey.
Yeah, it is. So I'm thinking it was a CIA op from the beginning. As soon as those guys bought that ticket to Beijing, as soon as the guys bought the ticket to Beijing, set the ball in motion. There's no way in hell the United States is letting China get their hands on that. And I don't know who else was on the plane.
I'm going to go back to my connect the dots. You know, the Friday after it was hijacked, Bibi put Israel on full alert because of the airplane. That means that he's worried about that airplane, and he's worried about a false flag, and he probably knows exactly where the damn airplane is, too.
That's right. Well, we're talking about our CIA, but we're also talking about the Mossad, probably KGB, and whatever China's answer to all of that is, whatever their agency is. But you're telling me with all the satellites around it, from the space station you can barely see the Earth because of all the satellites, so that they don't know where the plane is. And that was pretty fancy flying according to the crap that they're putting out there. And also, he couldn't have shut off all the transponders. There were 4 of them that the pilot had no access to. How'd those go off?
Well,
something ain't right. And then Boeing, through LeagueNet, put out a tweet saying that the plane was in Pakistan, remember?
Mm-hmm. That was
and the general said it was in Pakistan, and our sources said it was in Pakistan. So, they're the ones that have been consistent.
My money's on Pakistan.
So my money's at, too. So they can keep fishing around the ocean and finding fishing rods and reels and whatever else they're picking up out there. That's bumming me out, too. They're saying all this debris in the ocean. What, is everybody out there on a boat of filthy pig now?
It looks like I mean, I would understand if it was off of Japan after Fukushima. I'm sure between Japan and the U.S. it just looks like a pigsty or a slop pen or something. There's just so much crap in it, but oh well.
We have a
518
number on our.
Oh, that's Anna. Her computer's broke.
Is that famous Anna?
Yes, famous Anna.
Okay, hi Anna. And Lynn's on the switchboard too. Hi Lynn, AstroTurf. I'm sure Kel's in the chat somewhere. All right, let's move on here because they're not going to tell us the truth about the plane. California.
Never.
There's a senator there. He resigned finally. Senator Yee. He just got busted and indicted for arms trafficking. Now, he is one of the ones who writes anti-gun California legislation, and he's so anti-gun. And here's this SOB trying to sell arms to Islamics, and ended up in North Africa. Listen to this story from Forbes. Alleged arms trafficker and anti-gun California Democratic State Senator Leland Yee knew that arms deal he was attempting to facilitate would send money to the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, or MILF, in exchange for weapons, and that those weapons were intended to be imported into the United States and distributed in North Africa and Italy. These allegations, along with the allegations below, which I'll get to, were revealed in the affidavit in support of the criminal complaint against Yee and his co-conspirators. Says that MILF is a secessional movement in the Philippines whose goal is to establish an independent homeland that will be governed by Sharia. Says now, while Senator Yee focused much of his attention as an elected official on anti-gun legislation, he seems to have substantial comfort with guns in planning the conspiracy. Senator Yee sought to reassure the undercover FBI agent that another co-conspirator was a gun lover and had no moral arguments against selling weapons. Senator Yee also noted how on a trip to Mindanao in the Philippines, he had an opportunity to shoot some of the weapons he was helping broker. Moreover, Senator Yee, who campaigned against the influence of violent video games, seems unconcerned with leading a conspiracy which would send funds to individuals who had no problem, in his words, kidnapping individuals, killing individuals, and extorting them for ransom. In exchange for those funds, weapons would be imported into the United States and eventually distributed to unknown individuals in North Africa and Italy. He met at a San Francisco hotel. They gave him $200,000 in cash. And throughout the discussions that formed the conspiratorial agreement, government documents allege that Senator Yee was intimately involved in the planning. They don't name who this conspirator was, but he's been running guns into Cuba and to Venezuela and other places.
Would his first name be Eric, maybe?
Yeah, probably Eric Holder. Yeah, so all these gun people, all these anti-gun people are the biggest gun runners around. Eric Holder, Obama, the ATF, this senator. Unbelievable. But they want to take your guns away. They're going to arm every one of our enemies. They're going to arm every one of these Islamists who stone women and murder gays and murder Jews and, kill Christians and all of that. Yeah, you want them to have guns, but you don't want American citizens to have guns. And he's a senator who swore on the Constitution. So as far as I can see, he can rot in hell. Hey, Obama called the Pope a liar. I mean, you can call anybody a liar, but the Pope? I mean,
he's out of his mind. He's more than out of his mind.
The Pope said, stop messing with my nuns. Now Obama's calling him a liar. Listen to this story. This is from Conservative Tribune. We knew Barack Obama's antipathy towards religious people runs pretty high, but this latest act towards one of the most visible symbols of Christianity is simply outrageous. Obama met with Pope Francis last week, a meeting which centered on the concerns of the Catholic Church with the administration's policies on life and religious liberty. The Catholic Church and other religious organizations and businesses like Hobby Lobby are in the midst of a battle over Obamacare contraception mandate. According to reports, the Pope did not hold back in expressing the Church's concerns with Obama's anti-religious liberty policies. What's more, the Chief Justice of the top court at the Vatican actually told the press that Obama is waging war on Christian civilization. But if you ask Obama, he acts like the conversation with Pope Francis about life and religious liberty never happened. The report from the President and the official Vatican statement about the exchange are completely different. So, is Obama calling Pope Francis a liar?
It seems like there's a few other discrepancies in their conversation, too. I can't remember where right now, but that wasn't the only one.
Yeah. Well, Obama says, we didn't touch in detail, and the Pope is like, yeah, we did. So who are you going to believe? You're going to believe Obama, who was elected for the Liar of the Year, over the You Can Keep Your Doctor lie? He lies about everything. You're going to believe him, or you're going to believe the Pope?
I think I'll go with the Pope.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Pope, too. Today is the last day to sign up for Obamacare. Yep. Twice today, and probably right now, the Obamacare site went down. They're trying to say because 300,000 people were online.
Mm-hmm.
eBay does that a minute.
Breitbart says only 1.7% of uninsured people signed up.
Oh, well, look at the numbers.
1.7.
You're right. 1.7%. Well, just figure, we got 350 Americans in the country. Untold number of illegals in the country. Every one of them are mandated to have Obamacare. So you're talking 400 million people maybe. So you got 6 million people sign up, and you're having a party about it? And they didn't even pay for it.
Well, but that means
and
about
70% of them went on Medicaid.
Well, so I don't know what percent that leaves, but that's the stupid people, the dumb.
Yeah, well, that's the stupid people. Just figure how many people you got in the country and how many they're claiming registered, and you're talking 1%.
What about, let's talk about the percentage of people that are intelligent, that have read a lot of what's going on, that didn't sign up. Ding, 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 raise my hand.
Okay.
We can't find that percentage of people that refuse to go to the website. I'm sure that's probably about 30% of people that know what's going on and wouldn't dare go to the website nor sign up for the garbage.
Yeah, well, how convenient.
Uninsured.
How convenient that the Obamacare glitches came up today. And you know what the glitches are? They can't tell you how many of them paid for the policy, how many people still have a policy in their basket but didn't pay. They're not telling you the numbers from the insurance companies because all of those insurance companies have to give daily report numbers to the Obamacare site for how many they paid. So they're figuring maybe 33% paid, and the other 66% is still pending. So now, if you got 6 million and 33%, we're talking 2 million people here. So
and
2
that
million
might be
out of 350 million, plus it's open to illegals, and we're talking like 50 million there. So 400 million people, and you got 1 million people that have actually paid.
I want to see the percentage of people that are smart enough to not even go to the website. That's the percentage I want to see.
Yeah, well, they're having these big, oh, yeah, we reached our goal. That's a pretty low goal, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, here's my prediction. Everything is a plan by design, and I think within 90 days they'll have their single payer. It's a flop. Right. They know it's a flop. The deadline, I guess it's the deadline today, unless they extend it another 2 weeks. I predict within 90 days they'll have single payer, and we'll be bailing out all the major insurance. Well, Blue Cross, United, Kaiser, all of them will get a bailout, and then we'll jump right into single payer, which is what the whole thing is scheming to do anyway.
Exactly.
The whole plan.
Exactly.
And 90 days might be lucrative, but I'm going to give it 90 days.
This isn't supposed to work. It's supposed to wreck everybody's insurance and leave them with no other choice but single payer. And they're doing a real good job at it. If you wanted to really...
And meanwhile, the people that have gotten through and signed up are getting a voter ID card, a voter registration card in the mail that's already checked Democrat.
Right.
So God help me if they sent me one of those. I don't know. I'd have to go... I don't know what I'd do.
Let's make it smaller numbers. If you have 400,000 people in a room, one of them signs up for Obamacare.
Yeah.
That's the number. One in every 400,000.
That is 4 LSU Tiger football stadiums full of people. That's a lot of people.
And one of them signs up for Obamacare.
Right.
That's the numbers we're talking about here.
And that's the one person out of 400,000 that was passed out in the bleachers.
Yeah, and somebody else signed him up.
Kidding. Yeah, somebody else signed him up.
Speaking of signing up, Obamacare, when you sign up for Cover California, they send you voter registration.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep, with Democrat already checked. It's already filled out in your name and checked, and you got to just look it over, and if it's okay, then you send it back to them, and you're a registered voter under Democrat. You don't have to do anything. They're already registering you. Unbelievable. And Las Vegas workers, culinary arts workers and hotel workers, they're striking. And nobody's telling you, but you know what the reason they're striking is? Obamacare. They can't afford it now. And the employers are saying, well, we're not going to cover you. Go get your own. Sign up for Obamacare. So now they want the employers to have to be mandated to cover them because they don't want Obamacare. Aren't these the same freaking unions that push it down our throat? Listen to this. AP ignores why Vegas culinary workers have authorized strike. This is from Newsbusters. The headline and first paragraph at an Associated Press item on a union strike authorization vote in Las Vegas are both far more vague than they could or should be. Though the rest of Ken Ritter's coverage at least identifies the union involved, it completely fails to get to the heart of the matter, which is that Obamacare is causing huge increases in their employers' cost of providing health care coverage. Culinary Union Local 226 wants their casino company employer to, eat those costs. And the companies are resisting. So the company said, no, I can just pay a fine for you, which is a lot cheaper than buying you insurance. Buy your own insurance. So now they're bitching. Well, they weren't bitching when they were, raiding town halls and beating up little old ladies and, they bit a man's finger off and they, please, those are the same people that were flipping out over the Tea Party. Oh, we got to have Obamacare. Well, that didn't work. Hey, JoJo.
I'm back. I dropped my call. I had to call back in.
Well, I just noticed your microphone wasn't on, so I popped it open for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, these are the same unions that shoved it down everybody's throat and were slapping around little old ladies at the town halls.
I think these union people are in for a very rude awakening. You know,
they thought they were going to be exempt. Remember, Obama was going to take care of it.
But there's so many uninformed. I had dinner with a liberal the other night. It was quite entertaining, and we got on the discussion of Obamacare. And, you know, he just thinks everything's wonderful. And I said, you're not safe. You know, you're not safe. You just think you are.
You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
I got one more Obamacare story, and you guys are going to flip out about this. The United Nations panel demands Obamacare for illegals and denounces racist voter ID laws. Okay, so now the UN panel is demanding Obamacare for illegals. So why don't we all go sign up for the United Kingdom's National Health Service then? We're not legal over there in the UK, right?
Right, and how come all the illegal immigrants from Mexico just don't go sign up for whatever they got in Mexico? And all the Muslims that have come across the border, why don't they just go back to wherever and get health care from wherever?
Yeah, you're right. Listen to this. Once again, the United Nations is sticking its nose where it doesn't belong, in the affairs of American citizens. The UN Human Rights Committee, at its March 2014 session in Geneva, issued its fourth report on human rights in the United States, blasting the denial of coverage through the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, to illegal aliens as human rights concern. So, let the UN cover them.
You know, we're in big trouble with the UN. I don't know how many of y'all realize how much control over the last 2 months the UN's going for, or already has, or whatever. It won't be long before we'll be under total UN control.
Remember, they told us, no, illegals are not eligible for Obamacare.
Yeah,
and they want to talk about our racist voter ID laws.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah? So they make it sound
but now
like
we're not
minorities
anymore.
are too
we're
stupid
just
to get an ID.
We're just dumb now.
Yeah, we're
not
dumb.
racist anymore. We're dumb.
And minorities must be even dumber.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they can't even pull off get an ID.
If you're poor, you're dumber.
And all these illegals, they can find every amenity in this country except an immigration office. I'm tired of these bleeding hearts. You know, they expect you to pay for everything and everybody in the world. Kelshu put out a post earlier today saying that that's Agenda 21. It's universal health care. Eventually, you're all going to get your health care. Every country is going to be run by the UN. So it doesn't matter where you sign up.
And WHO, World Health Organization, is also a big control thing that's tied right into the UN. And they control all the diseases, and they report on the diseases worldwide. And they're hooked into the CDC, so got to pay attention to those folks, too.
Absolutely. So, as far as I can see, the United States is allegedly a sovereign nation. We make our own laws. We do not go by international law, although our president, again, over the weekend said that international law trumps all constitutions and legal forms. That's what he called it, a legal form.
A legal form. The Constitution is a legal form.
Yeah, so it's a legal form, but it's outdated, and international law is superior. No, it isn't. And that's a violation of the Constitution.
That's kind of like signing a lease on an apartment, but then you sign a lease on an apartment, but then the city ordinance does away with the lease because of some city ordinance. That's what all that amounts to.
Well, they can stuff the UN. I think it's about time. As a matter of fact, I got another story coming up about the UN when we get to our foreign policy stuff. Hey, the FBI and the EPA raided a company that buys and sells spent brass.
Really? It was in Georgia?
I don't know, Montana.
Okay.
Yeah, listen to this. It's from Gun Saves Lives. The ammo industry just can't catch a break. USA Brass is a company that buys, cleans, and sells spent brass, which is then used in ammunition reloading. FBI and EPA agents decided a raid on the company was in order after it was discovered that several of their employees tested positive for elevated levels of lead. I ate seafood and got an elevated level of lead. Anyhow, according to NBC Montana, around 12:30 p.m., Agent Bert Marsden identified himself as the resident agent in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency's Criminal Division in Montana. He told NBC Montana agents were expected on scene throughout the evening and gave a short statement about the investigation. We are investigating alleged violations of environmental law. An investigation takes as long as it takes, and I can't provide any details as it relates to that, said Marsden. Occupational Safety and Health Administration, otherwise known as OSHA, workers found the company overexposed workers to lead and failed to provide basic safeguards to reduce lead exposure, including breathing protection and protective clothing. Wouldn't an OSHA inspection and citation normally take care of a problem like that? You know, if OSHA comes in and says you got to, you know, give these people more protection, then you do that. You know, why is the FBI coming in with the EPA? You all know damn well it's about the brass. It's not about the lead levels. They don't care if you got lead levels in you. You're just going to die faster.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't even be proven that it came from that company. And I think that this is all a ruse. It's, you know, again, with the guns. They want to arm all your enemy, but they want to disarm you. Look what's going on in Venezuela.
And Ukraine.
And, especially Venezuela, because the military just came in with tanks and guns, and they're shooting at the protesters. The protesters are disarmed. So keep in mind what happens when only the government has guns.
Well, they're wanting Ukraine citizens to disarm right now, too.
Yeah.
They're telling them to turn their guns in.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard.
Right. Well, better watch it, ladies and gentlemen. Every federal agency has been armed to the teeth. There's a civilian army. They're not actually military, but they are federal employees. All of your enemies are being armed, and we're going to talk about that, too. You know, Obama's disarming us, and he's exposing us to our enemies. Our friend Dan Sobieski over at Investors Business Daily wrote this story. Defense spending. 2 more weapon systems, including the Navy's Premier Attack Missile, have been targeted for elimination by the administration years before their usefulness ends or replacements are ready. How ironic that Nobel Peace Prize laureate Barack Obama used the Tomahawk missile he now seeks to scrap as his weapon of choice when, on March 19, 2011, he launched Operation Odyssey Dawn and fired 112 Tomahawks at Libyan targets to enforce a UN-backed no-fly zone in support of Libyan rebels fighting Muammar Gaddafi. Okay, what did you need 112 Tomahawks for to enforce a no-fly zone? What'd you shoot those Tomahawks at? Buildings? Buildings don't fly. Anyhow, future presidents will not be able to carry such a big stick. Along with the Hellfire air-to-ground attack missile, the Tomahawk is considered by the administration to be one of those Cold War weapons no longer needed. Yeah, so we don't have a Cold War anymore, right? Under Obama's budget proposal, the Navy, which as recently as last year had plans to buy 980 more Tomahawks, the primary cruise missile used throughout the fleet, will see purchases drop from 196 last year to just 100 in 2015, and then the number will drop to 0 in 2016. So what are you going to replace them with? And if you got other missiles, how are you going to put them on the plane? Those planes are set up for these missiles.
Well, I don't have a clue. I don't think he's trying to replace them with anything. I think he's just trying to disarm not only us, but the military, too.
Right. And, JoJo, he's sending man pads to Syria.
From Libya?
Which we all know is a BS story. Those man pads were already sent to Syria.
Wasn't it like 20,000 were missing from the Libya takeover?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It had something to do with Benghazi, by the way?
That's right. That's right. They were running these things through Turkey into Syria. So now they're considering sending man pads to Syria. If they're considering sending them, you know they're already there. And this is a way to CYA. So when one of these man pads shoots down an airplane, now he's got permission to have them there. Oh, well, we're going to send them there. You already sent them almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, they've been there.
Right. But he's considering sending them.
Yeah.
So there's a load of BS, too.
Mm-hmm.
And the Obama administration has been caught giving free high-tech military equipment to none other than Russia.
That's flexibility right there.
I'm starting to think Obama and Putin are working hand in hand. At first I thought they were fighting with each other.
So am I. I can't put my finger on what, when, or where, but it's just a feeling.
Yeah, well, on top of that, I find out that, let's see here, the name of this place, let me get it accurate, the World Federation of Trade Unions, to which David Axelrod, Donald Trumka, John Kerry are members, are a KGB front group.
Imagine that.
Yeah. There's a lot of KGB front groups, by the way, and there's a lot of CIA front groups. So everything you're being told is all a lie. It's all fake. I don't think Putin and Obama are working against each other at all. I think they're working hand in hand. Everything Putin's doing, Obama's allowing it. And he's just appeasing the European Union, who are a bunch of lazy doofs anyhow. You know, we got to go over there and rescue them because they're in trouble. Well, if you're in trouble, France has a military. Italy has a military. The UK has a military. Why is it our responsibility? Save your own ass.
What does NATO stand for? NATO doesn't stand for anything but U.S. anymore.
That's right.
You know, there may be 100 Marines and one person from France and one from the UK, and that's called NATO.
What's even more scary is the reason the European Union said that they couldn't fight Putin, because they used their military budget money for social programs.
Oh.
Exactly what we're doing. Cutting our military out and spending it on social programs.
And cutting our military and our armaments to send them to other countries.
Exactly.
Like Syria and like Ukraine and like God only knows where else. Turkey and wherever we're spending stuff.
And Pakistan, $7 billion worth of equipment that we used in Afghanistan is now going over there for free. We're not charging them anything for it. We're giving it to Pakistan.
What we left in Iraq. And what we're going to leave in Afghanistan is probably quadrillions of dollars worth of stuff.
Right. We're just giving it away to whoever wants it. But we're taking just guns away from Americans. We're giving away man-pads, tanks, armored vehicles, all kinds of artillery and everything else. And they want to take away your little pea shooter?
And we're probably giving away nukes. We don't know. That's probably a big secret, too.
Jim Hoft over at Gateway Pundit, he says the Obama administration has been secretly giving Russia free multiple integrated laser engagement systems, otherwise known as MILES. It's a tactical force-on-force trainer which uses a system of lasers and dummy ammunition to simulate ground combat for soldiers. While slapping Russia publicly on the wrist, the Obama administration has been giving Russia free high-tech military equipment. Judicial Watch reported, behind closed doors, the U.S. government is giving Russia free military equipment, also used to train American troops, even after Obama announced punitive sanctions against Moscow, and more importantly, a suspension of military engagement over the invasion and occupation of the Ukraine. The secret operation was exposed this week by members of Congress that discovered it in the process of reviewing the fiscal year 2014 budget and the proposed fiscal year 2015 budget. Turns out that the National Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA, has been providing the Russian Federation with the multiple integrated laser engagement systems. The U.S. military uses MILES for tactical force-on-force training. It says it's a crucial military-grade technology that's similar to a laser tag, available in some commercial markets. So why are we giving them laser?
I don't have an answer to any of it. It's just nothing as it seems. And I swear I have not been able to watch the news for over 3 weeks. I used to watch Fox occasionally, like 2 days a week. Now I can't even do that. And I am at the end of my rope. I'm disgusted with mainstream media, including Fox. The debacle they did over this stupid Malaysian airline, the way they kept it, the way they just went over and over and over it for 24/7 for 3 and 4 weeks. that told me something. That told me that it was a script. And they just kept on and on and on, and they were reporting stuff that wasn't even reportable. And meanwhile, they're not reporting anything else. And the sad thing is, and I know some of y'all are going to squirm when I say this, but we are the news hounds. We scour the news. Our group is some of the best researchers out there, in my opinion. And it's almost to the point where the people we used to think were shills and FOS, and we didn't believe anything they wrote because it was crazy, and the people we considered uncredible, now I'm kind of looking at what they're putting out, and then I'm going back and researching what they've put out to kind of, it seems to me they're more accurate right now than anybody else.
Right.
Not totally accurate, not 100%, but I used to say they were 20% accurate. I'm starting to lean toward about 75% now.
Bubba's in the chat room. He says that the U.S. has been buying Russian choppers to give to Afghan, too. Yeah, so Putin's getting the money for those. Know what else Putin's getting the money for?
Healthcare?
No. We just gave a whole crap load of money to the IMF for the Ukraine. The Ukraine owes the money to Russia for energy that they already use.
But the Ukraine voted down IMF.
Yeah, but they're still taking our package. And they're not. No, they're still good. They're getting forced into the IMF. The IMF is just going to buy all their debt, and then they're going to owe the IMF instead of Putin. But they got to pay Putin. So all that money that we're putting out to send over to the Ukraine is going to end up in Putin's pocket. That's the point. You know, so we're buying choppers from them, and we're giving them to Afghans. So that's costing us money, and it's going to Putin. We're helping out the Ukraine. They owe Putin the money, so that's helping out Putin. Sounds to me like Putin's making a killing off us. You know, he wasn't going to get paid by the Ukraine. Now he's in the money. We got that. Also, Putin has never made any bones about him wanting to put that Soviet bloc back together. I found this article here from the Independent UK. He's got his eyes on Finland. Everybody's looking at Poland, and he's massing up to go to Finland. Check this out. After annexing Crimea, with troops massed on the border of Ukraine, Vladimir Putin will not stop trying to expand Russia until he has conquered Belarus, the Baltic states, and Finland, one of his closest former advisors has said. So, speaking to the Swedish newspaper, Russia will argue that the granting independence to Finland in 1917 was an act of treason against the national interests. So, there you go. He's saying that it was illegal to give Finland away, and that's where he's going next. So, you know, Poland is in the crosshairs, but not yet.
And
we're going to help him. We're not going to stop Putin.
Yeah. But it's not just Finland. He's going to South America next. He's going to put bases in South America. He's going to be the world power. And, you know, the United States has, what do we have, 400 or 500 bases all over the United States, all over the world? I don't know if that's the correct number. That's just what comes to mind. But so within 10 years, Russia will have 400 or 500 bases all over the world.
Yeah, well, Marina Czech says that Putin is surrounding us.
We've been surrounded.
Yeah, but like Red Dawn, she said. Like the movie Red Dawn?
Yep.
Now,
and we don't even know how many thousands of Russian soldiers are still in this country. It was just last fall that they had that huge exercise. I mean, we don't know. We had Russian soldiers at that fort whatever in Colorado. Then we had the big exercise on the East Coast. We don't even know how many Russian soldiers are still in the U.S.
All right, well, Marina Chick has this article that she put out. Marina Chick is also Snoop Chick. Let's see. She says, Putin's militarily encircling the United States Red Dawn style. Nicaragua, Argentina, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Bolivia, Brazil, El Salvador, and all of Latin America, Cuba. So he's got bases in all these places. Plus, he's been talking with Vietnam. He's got, I'll tell you where these ones are, too. Let's see. Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Algeria, Cyprus, the Seychelles, Vietnam, and Singapore. He's in talks to give them access to bases and ports. And he's throwing money around all over the place. So he's going to surround us. Meanwhile, this jerk Obama is disarming us, getting ready for Putin to walk right in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We have a traitor. That's treason. You know, destroying our military and setting us up to be invaded or to be harmed. Our border is wide open. They're not even deporting people. So how are we going to protect ourselves? You think, and they're in a hurry to take away these guns. What do you think a 38 special or a 22 is going to do to a full-blown military come marching in here? Obama says, oh, yeah, well, we don't have to fight like we used to fight because most nations don't have standing armies. It's mostly guerrilla warfare, and we can do that with drones and precision strikes. Are you kidding me? Putin will see a drone long before it even approaches him, and he'll take it out. And they do have standing armies. He's not guerrilla fighting. He's telling you, I'm taking back the former Soviet Union, and there's not a damn thing you're going to do to stop me. Yeah, give up your guns. And give up your military.
Let's back up to the U.S. a little bit. We've over 200 officers and staff officers, over 200 officers in the United States service have been fired or early retirement. And now we have our latest nuke scandal where I can't remember the number of people that have been busted for this so-called cheating on a test.
Yeah.
It's quite a big number. I can't remember the number, but...
yeah, but you know what? They didn't even cheat. The potential was there to cheat. So they got rid of all those people. And they didn't even cheat.
It's another scam, another sham, another BS story. You know, let's
another purging of the military.
Yeah, but it's just purging. It's purging all the nuclear people. That's pretty scary. So we're going to purge everybody that knows what's going on, and we're going to put a bunch of 19-year-old people that they've recruited from God knows where, and I don't know, I'm making this up, but I don't know. So anybody 35, 40 years old that knows what's going on, that's at the height of their career, that knows their business, so to speak,
right,
are going to be fired, and they're going to slip some 19 or 20-year-old that they recruited off the internet and put in charge of our nukes, I guess. And I'm making that up. That's not a news story.
Yeah, well, we better watch what we're doing because he's taking out our nukes, he's taking out our Tomahawks and our Hellfires, he's taking out our generals and our captains and lieutenants, and he's getting rid of the Marines. He's getting rid of our military equipment. He is disarming us. And that's probably not a good plan. All right, we're going to take a quick break. But before we go to break, I want to tell you something. Rear Admiral Jeremiah A. Denton, Jr., retired Navy Rear Admiral, former U.S. Senator who survived nearly 8 years of captivity in North Vietnam prisons, and whose public acts of defiance and patriotism came to embody the sacrifice of American POWs in Vietnam, died March 28th at a hospice in Virginia Beach. He was 89 years old. Rest in peace, soldier. Unbelievable.
All right.
We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, go grab something to drink, have a cigarette, and we'll be right back. Well, hey, everybody, we're back. You're listening to Moretti Underground, the Liberty Report, right here at PRN Radio Network, the exclusive home of the amazing Watchmen of America. Hey, guys. All right, I'm Joanne Moretti. JoJo Norton's still here with me, and we've been doing some news here. JoJo, you got anything you want to bring up before we go into a lightning round? Oh, looks like we lost JoJo. She must be muted.
No, all right, I'm here. We can do the lightning round, but about 10 till I want to do my Rob Maness story if he hadn't called in.
All right, cool. We'll leave some room. All right, Iran's new UN envoy, all right, this guy that they're sending to the UN right there in New York City, he is one of the U.S. Embassy hostage takers from 1979. NCRI, Iran News, says the Iranian regime's new envoy to the United Nations has been a member of the group that took over the U.S. Embassy in Iran and held 52 Americans hostage for 400. Hamid Abu Talibi was one of the students who led the occupation of the embassy orchestrated by the regime. Abu Talibi's photograph is published in a state-run website among the collection of photos of students of Line of Imam, the group that took hostages. Hamid Abu Talibi has not been able to get a U.S. visa after months of waiting. The state-run ISNA news agency reported that after waiting to receive a visa for several months, no one in Tehran knows about the reason. A U.S. State Department spokesperson told the Washington Post on March 11th, the Immigration and Nationality Act prohibits us from disclosing details of individual visa cases. All visa applications are renewed individually in accordance with the requirement of U.S. immigration law. So they're going to let this SOB that took hostages for 444 days. Remember during Carter, and then Reagan had been, inaugurated. So then they let them go. Well, this guy here is now an ambassador for Iran, and they got to let him into the UN. John Kerry took a little detour on his trip and went to Israel. He thinks he's going to try to salvage the Israeli-Palestinian peace talks. Well, the Palestinians are flipping out. Israel is saying, I'm not going to release any more hostages unless the Palestinians say that Israel has a right to exist and they're a Jewish state. So Kerry, with their usual liberal talking points, decides doublespeak is going to work. Listen to this. Lynn sent this from the Jews News. Why exactly is a national homeland for Jews would be acceptable to the Palestinian Islamic supremacists in a way that Jewish state isn't remains unclear. But the Palestinians, as maximalists and unilateral as ever, have already rejected the proposal. So we'll probably never glimpse at the arcane reasoning process of the formidable Kerry. What he did was he changed the words. Instead of saying, okay, Israel is a Jewish state and they have a right to exist, he changed it. He said, national homeland for Jews. Well, the Palestinians didn't fall for it. So Arut Shiva says, the Palestinian Authority on Monday gave U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry 24 hours to get Israel to release the 4 batch of terrorists, including to AFP, after which they will resume moves to seek international recognition. So you give me the prisoners, the terrorists, and the murderers, and then we'll talk. No. Anyhow, if we don't get an answer from John Kerry on the prisoners tonight, we'll begin to ask for membership in all UN agencies tomorrow. So now, this little hole in the wall, piece of dirt that they're fighting over, and the Palestinians who were originally Jordanians, and Jordan doesn't want them back, they're going to give John Kerry an ultimatum, get Israel to do this, or we're going to start applying for UN membership and all that. It's not even a country. So Israel is saying, no, we're not going to get off anymore until we are recognized. You know, if you're not going to recognize us, why are we even talking to you? We got nothing to say. And we'll keep those prisoners. So now the Palestinians are flipping out, and John Kerry's over there telling Benjamin Netanyahu, release the prisoners. And you know what else John Kerry's up to, JoJo? He and the Obama administration are in talks with Lapid, L-E-P-I-D, who is a leader of the Knesset over there. They're going to overthrow Bibi and put this other guy Lapid in because he's more open to the suicide pact.
Well,
so
I don't see Bibi even. I don't see that happening.
Well, Bibi's in trouble over there. You know, he just like they overthrew the Ukraine. They're going to try to overthrow the Israeli president. Keep your eye on Israel, guys.
Soros has done moved on to Israel to stir that up?
Oh, yeah, he's up to his ears in trying to get regime change over there. He's working hard against Benjamin Netanyahu.
Do you think maybe Soros could get us some regime change over here?
No, Soros already got the regime he wants here.
Yeah, no kidding.
North and South Korea, they're exchanging fire. They've been exchanging fire for the last 24 hours. South Korea said that they were having exercises, and North Korea got mad at their exercises and started lobbing live fire bombs at them. So South Korea says it returned fire after North Korea's shells landed in its territorial waters, and the area has been a flashpoint. So just keep an eye on that, too. All right, let's talk about some financial stuff. You know the stock market's rigged? They have what's called HFTs, which is high-frequency trading. And all these trading computers are on these fiber optics. Well, the further you are away from your actual goal, like say I wanted to put in a trade out in California, I would put it into, on my machine, and it would travel across the fiber optics out to California. Well, all these traders in between me and California can pick up that trade before it ever gets to California with these computers, because you've got to use these fiber optics. So the big traders, like J.P. Morgan and all those other ones, before your trade even gets to California, they're already trading in it and buying it, and then they'll sell it to you for a higher price because they know you were looking at that stock. So it's rigged. This guy, Michael Lewis, says, the U.S. stock market is rigged in favor of high-speed electronic trading firms, which use their advantages to extract billions from investors, according to Michael Lewis, author of a new book on the topic, Flash Boys, A Wall Street Revolt. High-frequency trading, HFT, is a practice carried out by many banks and proprietary trading firms using sophisticated computer programs to send gobs of orders into the market. And it says they're executing a small portion of them when the opportunities arise to capitalize on price imbalances or to make markets. And HFTs make up more than half of U.S. trading volumes. So if you're a little guy and you put your trade in, they already saw what trade you were doing, bought the item, and now is selling it to you at a higher price and making money off of it because they intercepted your trade.
Mm-hmm.
So remember we said anytime... Go ahead.
They say with the way the computers are, within a millisecond, I can't remember, just thousands and thousands of trades can go down in just a millisecond.
Yeah, well, these banks and proprietary agencies like J.P. Morgan, they can spy on your trading and out-trade you. So, yeah, they got it all rigged. Remember we always talk about, as soon as somebody puts a nickel in that market, one of them come and take it right back out. And all the fake infusions from the Federal Reserve, those are just welfare checks for billionaires and banks.
Monopoly money.
Right.
Basically.
And then last week when Yellen said that, she might cut back on the quantitative easing and the market fell, well, today, she completely retracted that. She says that the quantitative easing has to continue, and because the recession is continuing. But she didn't put it quite in those words. From the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. economy is still considerably short of two goals assigned to the Federal Reserve by the Congress, of low and stable inflation and maximum sustainable employment. Ms. Yellen's remarks emphasized economic weakness, allayed concern in financial markets that the Fed might be thinking about raising interest rates sooner than was previously expected. Investors are currently forecasting the first rate increase will come around mid-2015. It says the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 130 points in midday trading in New York, and the yield on the 10-year Treasury note ticked up to 2.744%. Ms. Yellen seized the first opportunity to downplay her comment that considerable period after the end of the Fed bond buying program applied just 6 months before raising rates. So she had to shut them all up because they're still going to get their quantitative easing. And she says that unemployment is so high and unsustainable, the long-term unemployment. So she's actually telling you here that unemployment is so high that it's not even near those numbers. Remember they were supposed to stop the quantitative easing when it reached 6 points, and it allegedly at 6 points? Well, no, it isn't.
6.5, I think.
Yeah, well, it's at 33%. That's how many unemployed we have.
Oh, so
she's gonna...
Yellen's finally telling the real unemployment rate?
Well, not really. She did it in a roundabout way to tell us that it was extremely high and unsustainable, and to some Americans it feels like the recession never ended. And yeah, well, they're fudging the numbers. So she pretty much admitted
I think the definition of depression is so many quarters that are skewed. I can't remember the data, but you have a recession, and then you have so many quarters that are screwed up, and then you're ultimately, it's called a depression. So actually we've been in a depression probably since 2010.
You're absolutely right. We have been in a depression, since at least 2010, maybe 2009. Mm-hmm. Hi. Moving on. Wow. Violent criminals and non-citizens are to remain in the United States thanks to Obama. Our dear friend Ulsterman put this out. In a move that's direct violation of the administration's duties to carry out law and protect U.S. citizens, the Obama administration has been purposely engaged in an unofficial open borders policy where known and or alleged violent criminal illegals are being allowed to remain in the United States by the hundreds of thousands. Of course, everyone knows what's going on here. Unless the Obama administration starts allowing non-citizens to send absentee ballots from Mexico, it does no good to deport all these future voters from the Democrats. Via White House dossier, Obama fails to deport hundreds of thousands of known illegals. The Obama administration is deporting only about a quarter of the illegal immigrants it picks up, even though most come to their attention because of proven or alleged criminal behavior, according to the Center for Immigration Studies. From the CIS report, in 2013, Immigration and Customs Enforcement reported 722,000 encounters with potentially deportable aliens, most of whom came to their attention after incarceration for local arrests. Yet ICE officials followed through with immigration charges for only 195,000. That's 195,000 out of 722,000. Many of the aliens ignored by ICE were convicted criminals. In 2013, ICE agents released 68,000 aliens with criminal convictions, or 35% of all criminal aliens they reported encountering. The criminal alien releases typically occur without formal notice to local law enforcement agencies and victims. What's more, according to CIS, the administration may further relax the lenient prosecutorial discretion it uses to decide whether to send illegal immigrants back. The report appears to raise the possibility that enforcement is being scaled back now and the onus of re-electing the president has been removed. ICE targeted 28% fewer aliens for deportation from the interior in 2013 than in 2012, despite sustained high numbers of encounters in the Criminal Alien and Secure Communities program. The report also notes that the administration's repeated claims to have deported record numbers of illegal immigrants is based on an Orwellian redefinition of deported. That is yet another lie. An independent analysis of ICE records obtained in a lawsuit shows ICE was able to achieve these record departures only because the agency was taking credit for removing large numbers of individuals who were apprehended by the Border Patrol. They never even made it into the country. Such cases made up the majority of ICE-reported deportations in 2013, but they had never been counted that way in previous administrations. Although former DHS Secretary Janet Napolitano denied the ICE reports on her watch were misleading, her successor, Jay Johnson, recently admitted to a House committee that the administration's deportation figures are not comparable to previous administrations because of the large number of border removal cases. Other findings from the report, ICE reports that there are more than 870,000 aliens on the docket who have been ordered removed but who remain in defiance of the law. Under current policies, an alien's family relationship, political considerations, attention from advocacy groups, and other factors not related to public safety can trump even serious criminal convictions and result in the termination of a deportation case. So less than 2% of ICE's caseload was in detention at the end of fiscal year 2013. And, of course, everyone knows what's going on here. Unless the administration starts allowing non-citizens to send absentee ballots from Mexico, it does Democrats no good to deport all these future voters. So, there you go. We're not supporting anybody. If you get stopped at the border and they turn you around and send you back, they call that a deportation.
Well, we know
Guess
how
what else,
going.
JoJo? Guess what else?
Well, what we we have to remember that it's not just Mexicans come across the border, too. That's the other
it's not just
thing
Mexicans.
they don't want anybody to know about.
Actually, the Mexicans are the least of our problems.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the gangs, of course, and the drug runners and the coyotes. But, just the regular Mexican tomato picker and his family, that's not our biggest problem. Our biggest problem, they want you to think of the Mexican tomato picker. When you think illegal alien, everybody's mind automatically goes to that Mexican tomato picker. How about Russians or Hamas or Al-Qaeda or Somalians and Pakistanis and
Chinese and Russians?
That border? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Illegal is not a race. It's crime. So, don't be closed-minded about who's coming across that border. Like I said, the tomato picker is the least of our problems. There's a lot more dangerous people out there than most of the 50% of the crime in the United States is caused by gangs. Watch out for them. The drug runners. I mean, there's more drugs coming across that border. Guns, weapons, who knows, dirty bombs, components, anything.
Oh, yeah.
They're not, if they don't catch you at the border, you're home free. And he's cut back the Border Patrol. We got 1,200 Border Patrol.
The few that are left there are, they're now being issued soft pellet gun things.
Again, look at the numbers. You got 1,200 Border Patrol for 700 miles of border. They're all not on 24 hours a day. You got 3 shifts. So now you divide 1,200 by 3. You got 400 Border Patrol on a 700-mile border for any shift.
And they're armed with pellet guns.
Well, not only that, but 400 for 700 miles. And then not all of them are actually on the border. Some of them are 100 miles away from the border. Some of them are administration. Some of them, are in the office. So now you're talking about maybe 100 people at any given time watching 700 miles of border.
And let's not forget the 100-mile radius around the United States border is a Constitution-free zone. Don't forget that little tidbit of information, too.
That's right. Let's talk about a couple more things here. Obama phones for inmates. How's that? You love your Obama phones? I know people with 3 and 4 Obama phones. Okay, well, now they're going to give them to inmates, too. From GOP USA, you've heard of the Obama phone, the so-called free cell phone given away to people at the expense of taxpayers. Now, the Obama administration, through Attorney General Eric Holder, has a new plan. Free cell phones and bus money. That's right. Become a convict and get free counseling, phones, training, you name it. On Monday, the Department of Justice announced a new program, which Attorney General Eric Holder says will require all 200-plus halfway houses in the federal system to offer standardized treatment to prisoners with mental health and substance abuse issues. Question: if a prisoner is locked up for years, away from drugs and alcohol, why would they need treatment for substance abuse once they get out? In addition to those programs,
idea. You would think they'd be clean.
Oh, yeah. Well, in addition to those programs, the halfway houses will now have to provide greater assistance to inmates who are pursuing job opportunities, such as permitting cell phones to be used by inmates and provide funds for transportation. So now you've got to give them bus fare and telephones if they're in a halfway house.
Oh. Oh, it just gets depressing. The more and more we report on it, just gets more and more depressing.
Remember Benghazi, they said, well, they didn't have any money for more security. And then the lady there that was testifying, she said, no, money was never an issue. We had the money. But nobody wanted to order it because we were scaling down, so we didn't have an oppressive force in there, oppressive footprint in there. Well, guess what we're doing with money that could be used for providing more security?
We're putting up a camel statue.
Yes, we're spending $400,000 on a fiberglass white camel statue to put in front of the embassy in Pakistan. How long do you think before that fiberglass statue is snatched for $400,000 in Pakistan?
For about $200 or $300, you and I could have made a paper mache camel.
Yeah, well, that camel will be on. It'll be on there for what, an hour? And it's fiberglass. Someone will smash it or somebody will rob it. Spending $400,000 on it. You know what we should tell them? Oh no, you can't put that there. I saw a camel in a nativity scene once.
There you go.
That's a Christian symbol. You don't want it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, remember in the nativity scenes with Jesus and Mary and the baby and the shepherds and the flock and the camel and the kings and all that? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, those three wise men, they came riding up on camels. That sounds to me like a Christian thing. $400,000 for a fiberglass camel. You can buy a fiberglass Corvette for just a quarter of that.
I mean, you know, I know people think that the stuff we report is just like, it's almost like fantasy land. But you can't make up this stuff. It's too stupid.
I'm glad you said stupid, because that brings us to our next story. Do you know Americans are dumb, especially the ones who value human life?
Well, yeah, but when you get through with that the dumb thing's going to lead into my Rob Maness story, too, so go ahead on.
Okay. Well, Nancy Pelosi, she got an award at Planned Parenthood the other day. Did you see the awards they're giving out for donors? They're giving them a gold coat hanger pendant. Is that demented, a sick, or what? You know, they say, well, it's you know, because we're not going back to the old days of coat hanger abortions. Why would you even consider walking around with a coat hanger on your gold chain? Anyhow, Pelosi from Conservative Right says, I guess I'd rather be dumb than a heartless murderer. Check this out. At Planned Parenthood annual gala last night, attendees and stop laughing. They went to see Nancy Pelosi receive the Margaret Sanger Award for her defending of abortion rights. In her acceptance speech, Pelosi slammed abortion opponents, especially criticized the personhood laws some of them are pushing, and said the struggle for reproductive rights will continue whatever SCOTUS decides on the contraception mandate. When you see how closed their minds are, or oblivious, or whatever it is, dumb, when you know what the fight is about, Pelosi said, whatever happens with the court, we must remember these battles will not be the end of the fight. She added, former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg was also awarded. We spent $542 million in taxpayer money last year on people's abortions. There were 333,964 abortions in 1 year. And we're dumb? People who value human life are dumb? And she's a Catholic? She better quit claiming she's a Catholic, too.
Yeah. Didn't the Pope used to see her on one of her little trips over there?
Yes.
Not the current Pope, but
and some cardinal refused to give her communion, so obviously she's excommunicated. If not, she should be. Remember Obama said we're no longer a Christian country, and he was out to prove it with the help of his minions?
That was in 2008 or 9, wasn't it? It was 2009 he said that.
Mm-hmm. Well, over the weekend, the United States Air Force removed a Bible from a POW MIA display, the missing man display. Weasel Zipper says, all it takes is for one miserable SOB to complain, and they instantly cave. By way of Fox News, on March 14th, Air Force Chief of Staff General Mark Welsh told members of the House Armed Services Committee that there was no war on religious liberty. The single biggest frustration I've had on this job is the perception that somehow there's a religious persecution inside the United States Air Force, the general told lawmakers. It's not true. Well, if that's true, perhaps General Walsh could explain why a Bible was removed from a POW MIA missing man table at Patrick Air Force Base in Florida. The removal of the good book was first reported by the Gannett-owned newspaper, Florida Today. Base officials confirmed to Fox News Monday that the entire missing man table display had been removed from a dining hall because of the Bible. A press statement said the inclusion of the Bible ignited controversy and division. Missing man tables are long-honored military tradition. The tables serve as a reminder of the plight of brave Americans who are missing in action or who are being held as prisoners of war. The display includes a white tablecloth setting with an inverted glass, a plate with lemon and salt, a single rose, a candle, and a Bible. Each item is an integral part of the Missing Man Table and Honors Ceremony, according to the National League of Families of American Prisoners and Missing in Southeast Asia. The Bible represents the strength gained through faith in our country, founded as one nation under God, to sustain those lost from our midst, the official ceremony document states. However, someone at Patrick Air Force Base objected to the Bible's placement on the table. The following is the Air Force's explanation of what happened. The 45th Space Wing deeply desires to honor America's prisoners of war and missing in action personnel. Unfortunately, the Bible's presence or absence on the table at Riverside Dining Facility ignited controversy and division, distracting from the table's primary purpose of honoring POWs MIAs. Consequently, we temporarily replaced the table with the POW MIA flag in an effort to show our continued support of these heroes while seeking an acceptable solution to the controversy. After consultation with several relevant organizations, we now intend to reintroduce the POW MIA table in a manner inclusive of all POWs MIAs as well as Americans everywhere. So they're not putting the Bible back. They'll put all the dress caps back. They'll put the candle back and the inverted glass and the lemon and salt on the plate, but they're not putting that Bible back because somebody complained. So somebody complained about the Bible, it was removed. Then other people complained because the Bible was removed. So they decided to end the controversy and take the table away completely. So instead of honoring your POW and MIAs, now we've got to put up with some politically correct BS.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Yep.
All right, well, let me tell you, now that we're on the dumb subject,
okay.
Rob Maness, who's running for Senate against Mary Landrieu and a guy named Bill Cassidy, that is Republican House Representative. Anyway, here's the story. Colonel Rob Maness, the conservative candidate running against Mary Landrieu for the United States Senate, said Representative Bill Cassidy's leaked comments on health care reveal that he shares the elitist attitudes of President Obama, Harry Reid, and Mary Landrieu, as well as their big government philosophy. Congressman Cassidy's remarks are disturbingly similar to Senator Reid's comments last week. The reason Americans are not signing up for Obamacare is that it's a terrible program and a harmful policy for the economy. It's not because folks are incapable. This is what Maness said. Maness cited a leaked audio recording of Congressman Cassidy that surfaced on BuzzFeed.com. So you can go to BuzzFeed.com and see the actual video, in criticizing Cassidy for his latest comment. Apparently, Cassidy thinks that the people of Louisiana aren't as sophisticated as he is, and as bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. are, Maness said. But I have news for the big government promoters. The people of Louisiana know that politicians like Mary Landrieu, Harry Reid, and President Obama are out of touch, and that's why the polls show that Louisianans want a non-politician to win this. Maness also said Cassidy's comments represent a new version of Cassidy Care, which Cassidy first proposed in 2007. It's bad enough that Cassidy once introduced Cassidy Care in the state legislature, but it's shocking that even now he still supports a big government program in the healthcare sector, Maness said. Is Congressman Cassidy paying attention to the people? Obamacare remains the most unpopular policy of the Obama presidency and a significant cause of our stagnant economy. We do not need to replace Obamacare with Cassidy Care 2.0, or any other big government program. Maness went on to say how sad it is that politicians like Cassidy and Reid get elected to Congress, move to Washington, and then lose touch with the people they're supposed to represent. The people of Louisiana simply want the government to get out of the way so that they can achieve success without any dependence on Uncle Sam. Cassidy and Landrieu don't seem to understand that. All right, now, I've listened, I can't play the video. Basically, Cassidy's a doctor. He said, during his training and during his practice, he worked at places like LSU Health Science Center that took care of poor, uneducated people. Some couldn't read or write. Most were poor and illiterate. And therefore, they're too dumb to sign up for Obamacare. Now, let me say this. I worked at LSU Trauma Center in Shreveport, Louisiana, in the emergency department. And I took care of those same patients that Bill Cassidy's talking about. And yes, there were some that were poor, and there were some that were illiterate, and, you know, there were some that couldn't read or write. But my best guess, without any formal data, 80 to 85% of those people that Cassidy is referring to is illiterate, can't read and write, and too dumb to sign up for Obamacare, had Medicaid and Medicare and food stamps and disability and any other government program. Therefore, they're not too damn stupid because they obviously knew how to sign up for everything else.
That's right.
Now, that's my
they can find everything except an immigration
opinion.
office.
This is JoJo, because I've worked in the same system Bill Cassidy worked in. Rob Maness hasn't worked there. I have. This is JoJo's opinion. I worked took care of the same people that Bill Cassidy is calling too dumb to sign up for Obamacare. And I venture my 80 to 85% is probably a little higher. It's probably more like 90, 95%. They're not as dumb as he thinks they are, because they managed to get Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, and any other thing.
Facebook.
So they're not stupid. And free phone and free rent and whatever. So therefore, Bill Cassidy's out of line. He's saying the exact same thing Reed is saying and Nancy Pelosi are saying. And so now my other JoJo opinion is they have run out the race card. They can't use racist anymore, so now their new word is going to be dumb.
Well, I don't know.
On that.
I don't know about wearing out the racist part. Unbelievable.
Well, maybe not totally worn out, but they're coming
everybody in Louisiana, you know, consider Rob Maness, okay? He's not getting a whole lot of attention, but he is the conservative. He does have military background. You know, when you're talking about a senator, you know, that's not somebody that's just going to stick around in Louisiana. That's somebody that's going to Washington and affect the whole country. So it actually is the whole country's business who becomes a senator in any given state. So don't think that you can't, you know, worry about what's going on in Louisiana, or if you're in Massachusetts or Florida or Texas or anywhere else. All right, you got to worry about what's going on in Louisiana. Look at Mary Landrieu.
But look, we got Matt Bevin running against Mitch McConnell. We've got, I think his name is Bill Connolly, I think is his name, running against Lindsey Graham. We've got that ex-Secret Service guy, I can't think of his name. There's dozens of guys out there running that are for us. They're grassroots. They're not supported by the RNC rhinos, and they're definitely not supported by the Democrats. These people, you need to find them, and you need to send them $50 or $100 or whatever you got. These people, the ones that are running for the Senate and House that are grassroots, are the ones that are trying to save our country. So quit thinking of, I got to vote for the one that has the best chance of beating Mary Landrieu, or the one with the best chance of beating so-and-so and so-and-so. You need to start voting for the best candidate. Okay.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know about this voting thing. We got to try it. Oh, by the way, the guy you're trying to think of is Dan Bongino.
Oh, thank you.
He's the ex-Secret Service agent. He's running up in Maryland. And Bill Connolly, you're right, he's running against Graham.
Right.
I'm just going to do a couple of headlines because we're running out of time. But in California, we had a white privilege conference, and they blocked reporters and claim it's private, but we did pay for it with taxpayer-funded money. I don't know what you talk about at a white privilege conference, but I'm a little tired of that, too. You know, white people aren't catching a break. I know a lot of minorities are doing a lot better than some of the white people I know. I'm tired of this pitting us against each other. There is no white privilege. If you were a slave, you got to be 150 years old. If you were a slave owner, you got to be at least 150 years old. So, you know, I'm tired of that ex-slave crap, too. Like Sheila Jackson Lee, she says, I stand before you as a freed slave. When the hell was she ever a slave? Anyhow, a white privilege conference was just paid for by you. A brand new baseball bleachers were torn down because the girls' seats weren't equal. The parents in Plymouth, Michigan, got together and put a whole bunch of brand-new seating in the boys' baseball field. Well, they decided that the girls' baseball field didn't have those seats, so they tore down the seats that the parents paid for to make everybody equal. So when you're talking about that gender equality and all of that, remember, equality doesn't always mean that you're put up to be equal. That means somebody may be pulled down to be equal. A Massachusetts school district, Norwood, Massachusetts, changed the Christmas break to winter recess because they didn't want it to be Christian, even though Christmas is a national, federal recognized holiday. There were some people up in Maryland who had a town hall about Common Core. One guy stood up and said, "Why are you all sitting here like this? They're not training your kids to go to Harvard. They're not even training your kids to go to community colleges. This is bogus." Well, he got arrested for shoving a police officer, but there's a video. He never shoved anybody, but they dragged him out of the hall because he had the nerve to stand up against Common Core. In New York, high school graduates need remedial education before getting into the Community College of New York, Community University of New York. They can't read on a second-grade level, but they are pushing them through with social promotions to keep their numbers up and keep the money coming in, and those kids can't even read or write when they get to college. And our last thing is Ebola is now spreading to Liberia from Guinea, and don't forget that person in Canada that they caught with a hemorrhagic disease. They said it wasn't Ebola, but I would be willing to bet that it was. All right, JoJo, say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, and everybody stay safe and pay attention to everything going on around you. That's all I can say. See y'all next week.
All right, good night, JoJo. Thank you. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today, and we hope you enjoyed our show. And to everybody who's listening, all the people who called in, even though